big-time rivalry showdowns, November 20th and February 14th. That's not that long on the calendar anyways, but in between all of those, you also had a national championship run for Montana State in football. You also had one of the biggest bombshells ever in Montana, with Bobby Hauck abruptly retiring on National Signing Day, but then coming out of retirement, as it were, to take the defensive coordinator job at Illinois. And, by the way, a whole bunch of basketball rivalry to cover. But as we sit here today, if you're the Cats, you're dancing on the ceiling, and if you're Montana, you're looking around thinking, what just happened over these last 10 weeks? Montana State comes to Missoula this last weekend and sweeps in basketball. Just the second time in 24 years that Montana State has swept Montana for the entire season series. Montana State has swept Montana in women's basketball, almost every year since Robin Selvig retired. After Saturday's pretty decisive Montana State win, Bobcats have now won 15 out of 17 and 18 out of the last 21 since Selvig retired. So that part's been taken care of. It's been the other side where either the teams have split, or more often Montana has just swept Montana State in men's hoops for most of the 21st century. It's just not as true anymore. Ever since Danny Sprinkle got there to Montana State, he led the Cats to their first sweep of Montana in a season since 2002. Well, now Matt Logie wins in Missoula for the first time on Saturday, and Montana State has its second sweep overall in terms of basketball, both men's and women's, in 24 years. So, I'm not going to sit here and do a show about how it's all crumbling down around Montana, but I think that this last however many weeks has been certainly massively eye-opening for the Montana Athletic Administration, Grizz Nation as a whole. So certainly, again, the Bobcat side of things can't be going much better. Not only did they sweep in basketball, they also clinched the Brawl of the Wild trophy. It's mid-February. We still haven't even finished winter sports yet, let alone started spring sports yet. Montana State already up 9-1 in the Brawl of the Wild trophy. So, again, on the Montana State side of things, what a time to be a Bobcat, and what a just almost endless celebration they've been able to partake in because of not just the fact that they swept in football, winning twice, and then basketball, winning 4 times, but to go 3-0 in Missoula is quite an accomplishment when it comes to the rivalry at large, particularly when it comes to the revenue sports. So great job for Montana State, and if you're Montana, you got to find some footing somewhere. Grizz basketball team is certainly uneven, but I think if they found their stride, that's a team that definitely will make noise in March. Travis DeKeer has been to the Big Sky Tournament Championship game 6 times in 11 years. I can't remember the last time Montana didn't make at least the semifinals of the conference tournament. So you can expect him to have his team at least in position to make a strike. Now, which Grizz team shows up, that's going to be a huge question mark, because I think when the Grizz are good, they can be really good. But they also have stubbed their toe an inordinate amount of times. The loss Saturday night, Montana State won, by the way, 82-71. That loss, that's the 6th home loss of the winter so far for the Grizz. All the schedules that I found online, they only went back 20 years, but that's never happened in 20 years. I need to check back into the archives, go get some of the old media guides and go through it. But I really can't remember a Grizz basketball team that lost more than 3 or 4 home games, let alone 6. So that's certainly also of note. But again, I think this Grizz team, even despite all their inconsistencies and their ups and downs, first of all, I think the league is just not very good. I know I've been negative about it, and I know I've been sort of gloomy about it. The transfer portal and this transfer phenomenon and all this stuff, it's impacted men's basketball much, much more detrimentally than any other sport. Even football. Like, football has had some great players in the Big Sky move on and move up to the FBS, but it's nothing like basketball. Like, for example, Malik Moore was supposed to be the top returner for the Grizz this year. Instead, he transferred to Xavier. Rumor was that he got hundreds of thousands of dollars. I heard as much as $800,000 to transfer to Xavier. But you're also wondering, okay, he could have stayed at Montana, and with Joe Pridgeon graduating, Kai Johnson graduating, Brandon Whitney graduating, you're sitting there thinking, well, this guy's gonna be the best player on the Grizz, or one of the two, right? Him and Money Williams are gonna be the best players on the Grizz. And then he takes the bag, he goes to the Big East. But you're wondering, is he actually going to play at Xavier? Well, absolutely, he's playing. He's averaging 11 points per game. He's averaging 14 points per game in conference play. He just had 18 points at Madison Square Garden the other night against St. John's. So Malik Moore's doing it at a super high level. That story has been replicated in the Big Sky over and over and over and over again. Over the last couple of years, the only guys that have been returning all-conference players that then once they were, they've earned first or second team All Big Sky, right? They have a year or more of eligibility remaining. The only guys that have come back are the guys at Montana. Money Williams, Brandon Whitney, On and Moody. Like those three, they came back. Pretty much everybody else, your Dalton Connects of the world. I mean, I guess Dylan Jones stayed the whole time. But that benefited Weber a certain way, but they didn't win at a very high level. They were, fifth place each of the last 2 years, lost in the conference tournament to the Cats both times. Anyways, the point is that the league is not. If you think the Grizz are frustrating to watch, and you have thought that their unevenness and just how inconsistent they've been throughout this year, especially when it comes to taking care of their home court, you're not alone, certainly. But I do think for a variety of factors, not the least of which is that the league is just not very good. I think Montana's still going to be in the mix when the conference tournament rolls around. Montana State, here's the thing. If you're going man for man, first of all, both these teams have depth problems. The Grizz have depth problems because they just don't have enough guys. And Connor Dick being out with the shoulder injury gives them even one less guy after that. I know Courtney Anderson's hurt. I don't know exactly what's up with him. He was a transfer from Colorado that was expected to provide minutes. He's been out most of conference play. Caden Betts, I'm not sure what's up with him. He was a 4-star recruit out of high school from Pueblo, Colorado. He went to Minnesota. He came. The only memorable moment he has this year is when he came off the bench against Montana State in Bozeman, and he hit a couple threes. But he hasn't shown, he hasn't been, I don't know if he's been unavailable or if he just hasn't played, but he hasn't made any impact other than those two shots. So that's certainly been perplexing. And, then you have a couple injuries, and here you are, you're thin. Montana State's been ravaged by injuries. Calvin Holden was supposed to be one of their best players coming into the year. He hasn't played since early in the non-conference. Davion Brown was playing like an all-Big Sky point guard. When he took it, he had a great game against the Grizz the first time around, and then he just had a terrible, super unlucky injury where he slipped on the floor and hyperextended his knee and blew his ACL. Just bummer, just such a bad deal. But Montana State's been able to manage this, right? They've had multiple bad injuries. Jeremiah Davis was out for a couple weeks with an arm injury, but he actually came back, so that's one more guy. But still, the Cats are playing with about 6.5 guys. The Grizz are playing with about 6.5 guys. Yet still, they're two of the three best teams in the league. Like, if I'm a betting man going to Boise, I'm saying, man, you'd be hard-pressed to bet that the Grizz aren't at least in the championship on Wednesday, unless they have to play Portland State or Montana State before then. That's why these next couple of weeks are going to be pivotal. Can either team catch Portland State? I think if you're one of the two teams and you can't catch Portland State, you want the other one to catch Portland State because you want them to be the 1 seed. 2-3 is not good because 2-3 you're probably going to see those two teams against each other in the semis. You'd probably more rather play the rival in the championship. I don't know, though. Would you rather play Portland State in the semis? That's a really good question. But if I was a betting man, I would say that it's pretty good odds that one of the two, if not both, of the Montana schools are still going to be in the championship. Even if you're looking at them and you're thinking these guys are missing depth, these guys are sort of short-handed, under-talented, all of that stuff. I still think, first of all, because of coaching, and by the way, I want to add that sort of caveat to this. When I'm saying men's basketball is just not that fun to watch, I'm not dogging on Travis DeCuire or Matt Logie or the Grizz or the Bobcats. I'm dogging on the institution. I'm dogging on the sport. First of all, this dynamic of everybody transferring to all the best programs and everybody on every big-time roster getting hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, that's crazy. There's guys that are making $750,000 plus to be like the 10th or 11th man on a team in the ACC when that guy could be a good to great player in the Big Sky or the Summit League or the WAC or whatever. So that's unfortunate. That's nobody's fault except for all of our faults for being complicit and letting all this happen and run rampant without any structure or any framework. Also, though, I think the men's basketball could just change. They could change their game fundamentally by switching to quarters. It has revolutionized the women's game. It's made rotations more fluid for coaches. It's made the fouling issues much, much less. It's made the flow of the game significantly better. Men's basketball is just so clunky, especially when both teams, it's a physical rivalry game, and both teams get into the bonus. It's like start, stop, over and over and over and over again. You hardly get any sort of runs. Again, that's not anybody in Montana's fault. That is the fault of the way that the game has evolved. But I digress. So let's get into these results. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app, also coming to you live on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch. In the women's game, Montana State just raced to they were up 10, like boom, just like that. Then they were up 21-7 at the end of the first quarter. The only real resistance that Montana offered, they went on a 12-0 run, but that's when the lead had already swelled to 34-10. So they sort of had to even be able to tread water in the game. I mean, they were losing by 25 points midway through the second quarter. So that was sort of it, but then the Lady Grizz did have a spurt. They scored 12 straight, but then a couple just absolute daggers. Taylor Chirick, the Roberts robber, she was all over the place as always. She got 4 steals on Saturday. That gives her 100 for the year. She's back-to-back 100-steal seasons. She's only the second Bobcat to do that ever. But she had a steal into a transition 3, and then on the other end, Ella Johnson, who was the star of this game. We'll hear from her in just a quick minute. She had a block on the defensive end, and then they ran the fast break again, and they ran like a trailer 4 for her, and they just dimed her up for a transition 3-pointer. And Johnson, nothing but net. That was her third 3 of the first half. She had 13 points in the first half alone, finished with 17. That's a career high for her. And so it goes from 24 to 12, and then boom, it's back to 18, and it's 40 to 22 going into the half. And it basically just stayed there. Second half was so boring. Neither side really made a run. Like Montana State, they were in control, no question, but they didn't. A 10-point run, this could have just ended the game, just period. And on the Lady Grizz side, they were never able to cut it to less than 12. It just stayed between 12 and 20 the entire second half, and it all resulted in just what's become the status quo. Another win for Montana State. They have now won 5 in a row against the Lady Grizz, and they've won 15 out of 17. 18 out of 21 since Robin Selvig retired. On the men's side, the first half was back and forth. The Grizz shot the lights out. They hit 7 of their first 10 threes, but then it went totally cold. Lid on the basket. The Montana missed. They went 1 of 16 in the second half, I guess, towards down the stretch of the first half into the second half, but they finished 8 of 26 after starting 7 of 10. So that certainly wasn't great. The Bobcats used a run right out of half. I think it's a 10-2 run to push it from a 1-point lead to a 9-point lead. Then they pushed it all the way up to 13 before Montana started to chip away a little bit. But again, sort of a slog in the second half. Money Williams started coming downhill. He drew a whole bunch of fouls, but that was basically the only way the Grizz manufactured any offense. And Montana State just kept on running all their stuff and getting good shots, and they just kept the Grizz at bay all the way to an 82-71 win. 6 Bobcats finished in double figures. And Montana State moved to 9-4 in Big Sky Conference play. The story of the day, though, was all about just what it's like right now to be a Bobcat. So we'll hear from Matt Logie, the head coach of Montana State, his opening statement, then into when he was asked just what it's like right now with the way Montana State is dominating the rival and, by and large, dominating the Big Sky Conference. Let's hear from Matt Logie right now.
Yeah, obviously, really excited for our group. I thought it was a terrific basketball game. Both teams, for the basketball community out there, that first half was back and forth with both teams making a ton of plays on both sides of the ball. I thought we settled in well to the game and the environment, and were able to execute and make enough plays to build that lead in the second half. But Montana's a tough team, and we knew that we'd be getting their best punch tonight.
Slim Kimmel from MTN then asked Matt Logie about just this moment right now in Bobcat athletics as they sweep Montana in basketball for just the second time in 24 years.
season sweep for you guys or your rivals, but not just you guys. The women did, football team did. What's it like right now being a part of the Montana State Athletic Department?
It's special. This is a special place and a special time with special people. And, when I got here 3 years ago, you could see the trajectory. Obviously, Coach Ben and their program has had a great success in the last 2 or 3 years that I've been here. Obviously, the football program, it speaks for itself. And I think one of the things that I appreciate the most about our athletic department is how everybody is rowing in the same direction. And, everybody wants each other to succeed. We all recognize how hard it is to do this at an excellent level. And we've got great support from our administration and our fan base. And so it makes you really proud to wear the blue and gold and to fight through some of the valleys that this group and our program has fought through, over the last.
Matt Logie here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. For those that are hungry or thirsty or whatever you might be for good news on the Grizz, I think twofold. One, we're only about 2 weeks into this, but Bobby Kennedy has certainly been making a much more concerted and visible effort out there on the recruiting trail. It's pretty interesting. The new Grizz head football coach, you can tell he's doing his own graphic design. And he's 59 years old. So I wouldn't say it's innovative or modern or chic. It's not like that. I don't know. What do you say? You can tell it's him. It's authentic. But I'm not even criticizing the designs or anything like that. I think it's actually very I think it's a good idea because it's very clear it's him. It's very clear it's like a late 50s guy that's just sort of tooling around with the Microsoft Paint or whatever, or the Photoshop. And the point is, he's at Big Sky High School recruiting Eli Kasberg. He is around the state, meeting and greeting. He did a photo shoot with Grizz athletes from across various different sports. Noticed a couple volleyball girls. It was all about the Alumni Association license plates. They did a photo shoot for that. He was sitting courtside at the game at Missoula, in Missoula on Saturday for the men's basketball game for the rivalry. Doing hits on TV. Nothing that's out of the ordinary. It's just refreshing because Bobby Houck was just not into that sort of stuff. And another Grizz note, Grizz Lacrosse started their season, and they're off to a 3-0 start. They were down at the Rocky Mountain Rumble this last weekend in Denver. We told you about the 13-9 win over Arizona Christian on Friday, but then they turned around and they beat DU, who's playing in their hometown, Denver University, who was really good at lacrosse. And then that was a 12-8 score, and then a 10-3 win over UC San Diego. So those are two of the better teams in the region, certainly. So those are nice wins for Grizz Lacrosse. They'll be back at it. They're going to Utah here next weekend, and they'll play Utah State and Northern Arizona there. You can catch Grizz Lacrosse for the first time in Missoula against Gonzaga on March 6th. That's a Friday at Washington Grizzly Stadium. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Let's keep on rolling through some of this basketball talk. Challenging. When you lose a rivalry game, I think it's pretty disheartening for everybody involved. These guys pour their hearts and souls to it. Also, they're then preparing themselves for all the scrutiny that comes along with that. I appreciate Travis DeCuire in his post-game after losing the Cats. It's not a familiar situation for him to get swept by Montana State. He's still 17-7 against the Bobcats in his career, but 5 of those 7 losses have come over the last several years. So maybe it is closing a little bit, but certainly I thought DeCuire was matter of fact and classy in his postgame. Here is the 12th-year head coach of the Montana men's basketball team.
They're just better tonight, top to bottom, from me all the way down to the end of the bench. I just thought there were too many stretches where we weren't good executing on either side. If you look at the majority of our losses in conference this year, we've had just halves where we've given up 50% or more. So defensively, we just weren't good enough to get stops when we needed. There were moments where we had momentum, we had opportunities. 40% in the second half offensively is a sign of some things that we didn't really take advantage of that we saw, because we had stretches where we were executing some things. We found some mismatches and whatnot. Attack the paint. Probably didn't attack the paint enough to finish the run that we did make in the second half. So tough one, but there's a lot more basketball to be played, and we'll continue to work. Questions?
Wait, I wrote my lead on late Saturday night for the women's game. I guess early Saturday evening, actually, because I actually got my women's story done before the men's game starts. You'd be surprised how challenging that is when you got to do all the other stuff, the clips and the sound and all this sort of stuff. Regardless, I wrote my lead about Ella Johnson because she has been a very good specialty type of player for Montana State. I'm not taking anything away from her complete game, but Trisha Binford joked at the post-game press conference, we used to call her Ella Don't Shoot the Ball Johnson. And she said that's quickly, though, changed into Ella Shoot the Basketball Johnson because she's become a much better shooter. She's a pretty unique weapon, though. She's 6'3". She can play out on the wing, but she's one of the best overall defenders in the Big Sky Conference because she can guard, she can deny, and she can also protect the rim. She's one of the best shot blockers in the conference, but also can guard a guard out on the perimeter. That's pretty special, especially in the Big Sky. And when you add that she's 6'3" with long arms, that's a pretty good weapon for Trisha Binford. If that's just what you got out of her, she's a really impactful player. I mean, she starts for the reigning Big Sky Conference champions. If she goes 3 of 4 from 3 and she scores 17 points like she did on Saturday, look out. Here's a fun part of this story. I learned this after the game. Else I would have asked her, after the press conference, or I would have asked Ella Johnson about this. But she is from Elk River, Minnesota, which is, I believe, 14 and a half hours from Missoula, Montana. Well, her mom got off work Friday, drove all the way through the night to Missoula to watch her daughter play, and then her daughter has the best game in her career. Pretty cool. Ella Johnson, her debut here on Nuanez Now, accompanied by a familiar face, Addison Harris, who has been on the show several times, a star sophomore for Montana State. But Ella Harris, the star of the day on Saturday.
Can you talk about the start? You guys had great starts in this game both times around, but what went into today's nice start?
I think really what we were emphasizing is like growing as a team and just improving each and every day. So we really wanted to just come out there and like throw the first punch.
And what was your guys' execution in the half court? Because a lot of times you guys get so much offense off of your skills and stuff. You got a little bit today, but mostly it was just in the half court. So what helped you execute so well in the half court?
We did good. What we kind of like shined off of was like getting in the paint and being able to like play off each other and move off each other. We found a lot of success in like the replace threes and whatnot.
Addison, when Ella is scoring the way that she is, what does that do for the rest of you all?
We're so proud of her. This girl works so hard. She's in the gym 24/7. Like she deserves like to have games like these. Like she's earned it. But it just gets us like fired up. We bring our own energy. We're like cheering each other on. And it's super special. Super proud of her.
Ella, what do you think your scoring opportunities came from? You did a little bit outside, you did a little bit inside.
I think it's just playing off of one another. Like Addie said, we really emphasize like creating shots for each other and finding the open, and one more isn't the best shot. So I think that's where it came from.
Montana had that 12-0 run in the second quarter, but then you hit a 3 and Kaylee hit a 3, and you guys pushed it right back to 18. How important do you think that stretch was for you guys, especially going into the locker room such a lead?
I think it's really important just to focus on like getting that stop, so then we stop their like run, and then we can just build off our own.
Same thing for you, Addison. How much do you think that helped you guys just carry momentum into the halftime locker room?
Big time. Just being able to end on a run so we can continue it out of halftime and keeping like that consistency and intensity.
The women's game, the Lady Grizz did find a little life and went on a 12-0 run. But then two daggers, Taylor Chirick and Ella Johnson. And then I thought Harris down the stretch really carried him as well. I think she scored 8 points in the final 8 minutes, and that really kept the Lady Grizz at bay. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Finally, let's hear from the Lady Grizz side of things. Here's Nate Harris, his opening statement. He is now 0-4 against the rival.
The game gets really hard when you don't start playing the right way until 17 minutes into it. I thought that we just started slow, kind of been our thing the last few games, and we've got to do a better job of getting off to a good start with some intensity. And to be honest, I thought our defensive intensity was pretty good early. We got some good looks. Obviously, they're a pretty good team, but I give them credit. Ella Johnson steps up and buries 3 in the first half. Jameson Phillip hits 1 in the first half. Courtney Smith, it was late, but hits 1. So all kids that we kind of had in our game plan to make shoot those, and that's 15 points right there. Right? That's 15 points right there. And so credit to them. On the flip side, felt like we got some really good looks early that could have got the crowd into it and helped it stymie them a little bit, but didn't go in on our end. And the 3 things we told the kids after the game, number 1 was I thought our defensive effort was better. I thought this was a better defensive effort. I thought we took a pretty good punch from them. I thought that was one of their better offensive games, but I thought we defended better than we did last week. Number 2, just keep pounding the rock. It's going to break. If you don't think it's going to break, what are we doing? What are we doing? Just keep pounding the rock. It's going to break eventually. And the third thing we told them is, again, this is all about being at our best. We were better today. I felt like as much as it hurts, as much as it sucks to be a Montana native and sit here 0-4 against Montana State, it's not going to change without just working really, really hard and focusing on the things we can control. Does it hurt? Yeah, but the emotions don't matter. What matters is we have to get to the point where we consistently beat them.
Nate Harris here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. We'll hear from him a little bit more in hour number 2. But for now, take a break, come back, give you a couple more thoughts on the women's game, but also where these teams turn from here. We'll also give you a standing update in the Big Sky Conference. And we also have a prep scoreboard coming up as well. Let you know what happened in the high school world of basketball. That's all next. Don't you head that down. Keep it right here, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Cold weather cravings? The Montana Club has got you covered with scratch-made comfort food to match every craving. From perfectly grilled steaks to satisfying salads, they're ready to handle your hunger. So grab a table with a reservation or keep it casual and order delivery straight to your door. Great food made easy. Visit MontanaClub.com to order or reserve and come warm up at your Montana Club. Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Uh-oh. Fender bender? Did you hit a deer? Or something worse? Action Auto Body Missoula brings your car back to life. Their expert technicians use state-of-the-art equipment to get you back on the road fast. Insurance claims? No problem. Quality repairs? Guaranteed. When accidents happen, take action. Call Action Auto Body Missoula today. 406-728-9220. That's 406-728-9220. Or visit ActionAutoBodyMT.com. Action Auto Body Missoula, where Missoula's cars come back to life.
Senior Medicare Patrols empower and assist Medicare beneficiaries, their families, and caregivers to prevent, detect, and report healthcare fraud, errors, and abuse through outreach and education. In Montana, Senior Medicare Patrol is operated by Missoula Aging Services in cooperation with area agencies on aging across Montana. To contact your closest office, call 800-551-3191. This project is supported by a grant by the Administration for Community Living.
Feeling inspired by the Winter Olympics but don't have any ice sports experience? Come to Glacier Ice Rink this Saturday and we'll get you started. Our Winter Games Tri-Day features skating, curling, and sled hockey sessions that introduce beginners to these sports in a fun, safe environment. If you're more of a spectator, we've got hockey games throughout the day, including a USA versus Canada matchup. Pre-registration is required, so visit glacierIcerink.com to sign up. Glacier Ice Rink's Winter Games Tri-Day this Saturday.
Red's Bar is a beloved institution in downtown Missoula. Whether you want to watch a game, enjoy a cold beer, spend time with friendly faces, or simply wind down, the welcoming atmosphere and wonderful staff at Red's will make you feel right at home. Red's features 14 HD TVs and 2 full-service bars. Stop by and grab a beer with friends while you watch your favorite team play and check out the extensive collection of awesome sports memorabilia. Red's Bar in downtown Missoula, the friendliest sports bar in town.
It's a Saturday matinee basketball game at the Adams Center as the Montana Lady Grizz host Weber State at 2 o'clock. Bring the family for an afternoon on the hardwood and stay afterwards for post-game autographs and a photo with the team. We'll see you on Saturday at 2 for Lady Grizz basketball. Get your tickets in advance at gogrizz.com/tickets.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
For the second time in the last 24 years, Montana State earned the season sweep of Montana in women's and men's basketball. Hello, I am Hayden Smith. Last month in Bozeman, Montana State women's basketball team ripped the Lady Grizz like never before, posting a 38-point win that marked the most lopsided margin of victory in the history of the rivalry. On Saturday in Missoula, Montana fared a bit better, yet still lost 72-55. The Lady Grizz turned the ball over 32 times in Bozeman and 18 in Missoula, but the Bobcats still extended their dominance over the the once mighty foes from Montana. MSU is now won 5 in a row, 15 of 17, and 18 out of 21 since Robin Selvig retired as the head coach of the Lady Grizz. Ella Johnson's career-high 17 points helped Montana State move to 11-2 in league play to keep pace with Idaho in the conference standings. In the nightcap, Montana State used a 10-2 run to begin the second half to take control and kept Montana at bay on the way to an 82-71 win at Dahlberg Arena. The victory marks third-year head coach Matt Logie's first in Missoula and helps the Bobcats earn their first season sweep of the Grizz since Danny Sprinkle was the head coach and just the second since MSU did it in 2002. 6 Bobcats scored in double figures as Montana State moved to 9-4 in Big Sky Conference play. MSU sits a game ahead of Montana for second place and now trails Portland State by 2 games with 5 league games remaining.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
They're paying how much? Welcome back. Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Last week, North Dakota State confirmed that they are on the way to the FBS. They accepted an invite to the Mountain West Conference. It's pretty crazy, some of the financials behind it, including an overall $17 million price tag to move up. And Sac State said over the weekend, hold my beer. Sac State paying upwards of $25 million to join the MAC. That's right, the Mid-American Conference. For those that don't know how to read a map, Sacramento, California is 2,640 miles away from the closest MAC school. So that bodes well for just, student-athlete welfare. They're going to be on planes basically across 3/4 of the country frequently. This is not like NDSU's deal where they're just joining in football. Sacramento State is joining the MAC in everything. Sac State's overall price tag for this is an $18 million entry fee. By the way, the price tag went from $50,000 to $5 million. Sac State then touted all around anybody who would listen that they were going to make the move. They first were saying they were going to go to the Pac-12. That didn't happen. They then were saying they were going to the Mountain West. That didn't happen. Then they petitioned to become an FBS independent. That was denied. So now they get an invite to a league on the other side of the country, and it includes a $18 million entry fee. They owe $6 million up front right now, straight out the gates. They also owe the NCAA a $5 million entry fee. And here's the kicker. They're also accepting 0 conference distributions until they pay this off. So that means NCAA tournament money, etc. Revenue sharing. Not happening. They're not getting any of it. They're also offering to cover the air travel cost for all visiting MAC football teams. That's going to cost them between $2 and $4 million over the next 5 years. That's all to say a total price tag of $25 million, and that's not even including the increases in budget. This left many across college athletics wondering why. Well, Sac State President Luke Wood, who has run his mouth all the livelong day for about the last 2 years, he said it puts the university on the map. And here's the thing. I get it. Sac State's never going to be relevant if they stay in the FCS. They won 3 straight Big Sky Conference championships. How many more people cared about Sac State after that? Like 11? 14? Like, seriously. Sac State has just basically perennially drawn about 10 to 15,000 fans for FCS games. That's in the middle of a 4 million person metropolitan area. You're getting hardly anybody to actually care about it. If Sac State won the national championship, how many people around the area would even care? I don't know. But I see it totally differently than maybe an NDSU or a Montana or a Montana State if they're ever to be in that position. Because I just think that Sac State's never going to be relevant unless they're playing at the highest level of football. They can capitalize on their metropolitan status at a much higher level if they're in the FBS. That's all to say, though, I think that this initial deal is ridiculous, but it does make me think that there must be scuttle out there
of strength
where
and breathability. And with the
these
Bears
schools
water
are
repellent
worried
coating,
about being left out to dry.
Raging river catching fish with
a lot of people, Cameron Salerno, for example, he's a sports writer who works for the Sacramento Bee. He's saying that they're just joining the MAC for now because they're trying to get in the Mountain West when they can, or they're trying to get into a new FBS league out west, but that they're taking care of the FBS designation. I didn't consider this until last week when Sam Herder from Hero Sports was on the show last Wednesday. When Sam was, I said,
fishing,
this is before the Sac News was announced. This is when North Dakota State had announced, though. And I said, why right now, Sam? Like, if college football has a chance to or is likely going to fracture, and all these pieces are going to fall down, and whatever, the top 40 to top 70 schools are going to move on and move up, and that's the only people that are going to be eligible for the college football playoff. And then there's going to be a new tier of D2 or like of the second tier of Division I that's like the group of 5 and then some of the best FCS. I said, if that potential fracture is on the table, why would you pay $17 million if you're North Dakota State and $25 million if you're Sac State to move up right now? And Sam said the thing that people aren't considering is what happens when that new tier of Division I football exists and they don't need anybody, or specifically they don't need anybody from the Big Sky Conference, and specifically they don't need anybody from the state of Montana. That made me really ponder, because I think right now Montana and Montana State need to just wait until it all crumbles down upon them. But if there is a scenario in which the re-stratification of the conferences and the re-stratification of Division I football as we know it results in an option that is Montana and Montana State being stuck in a third tier of D1 football with the Northern Colorados and Eastern Washingtons and Portland States of the world, that is a nightmare scenario. That is a nightmare scenario if you're the Cats or the Grizz. So I would be totally against these schools throwing down, $15, $17, $20, $25 million. First of all, where do you get it? That's the thing. Sac State gets more money from the state of California in terms of subsidies for their athletic department than the entire athletic department budget at either Montana or Montana State. Sac State is subsidized at about 3 to 4 times the level that Montana and Montana State are subsidized at. So they're getting all sorts of in-state money already. They also have close to 40,000 students, so they're going to double their student athletic fee. That's going to give them another $10 to $12 million a year right there. So you're making up the budget deficits here pretty quickly if you're SAC. Could you do that if you're Montana and Montana State? I don't know. Also, can you do it? I don't know that. That said, I never considered the fact that there might be a scenario in which this does all crumble and Montana State are still left out to dry. That's not good. More on this later on. I'm going to round up a couple people to come on the show and talk to me about this exact subject here later on this week. But let's keep talking hoops. It is Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Montana State's women with a pretty convincing 77-52 win over the Lady Grizz of Montana. The Bobcats kept pace with Idaho, but Idaho did beat Idaho State. So that was a game a lot of people had eyes on, scoreboard watching rise, right? Because Montana State has 2 league losses now because they lost to Idaho in overtime last week. They also lost to Idaho State, too. So now the Big Sky standings with 5 games left to play. Idaho's alone in first. They're a game ahead of Montana State. Northern Colorado is third at 10-4. They're tied with Idaho State, so they're sitting right there in that top tier. NAU with a first-year head coach is making some noise there at 6-8. Eastern Washington 5-8. Sac State 5-8. Montana sits at 4-9 in 9th place. Portland State is at 2-11. Montana's in 7th. Portland State's in 8th, and Weber State last place at 2-12. On the men's side, Portland State lost, and Montana State won, so they gained a game, but they're still 2 games back with 5 to play. Portland State and Sac State do come to Montana, not this week, but next week. So right now, here we are. Portland State's alone in first place, 2 games ahead of Montana State. The Cats are a game ahead of Montana. They're alone in third place. The Grizz are. And then Eastern Washington sits alone in 4th place. Northern Colorado, Weber State is tied at 5th place. Then Idaho, Sac State, Northern Arizona, and Idaho State. On the women's note, though, Montana State's still in the mix, even though they might need some help to win the conference championship. Here's Trisha Bidford following her team's latest rivalry victory.
Trish, they came out in the zone right away, but you guys handled it so well, so obviously you prepared for it. So what helped you execute, especially in that first quarter?
Well, you know, the last week and a half, we've seen a lot of different defenses, and so I think we've been preparing for some counters that we're going to face. I'm like, we've seen a lot. We have, knowing that Jamison was getting into the paint that first time around, we're like, okay, what are they going to try to take away? Because she was so aggressive. So one option zone, and one option is putting somebody deep in the paint, and they did both. So, we just we're trying to get better at some of those counters, but more importantly, we just need to set the tone on the defensive end and get some stops, because this team can really put up points very quickly, and we're on their home floor.
What do you think the addition of Mac Koenig does for this team now? I've seen them both with.
I mean, she's a tremendous player, and she's a great ball handler. You look at how much we turned him over the first time compared to today, so she makes a big impact. She certainly is a playmaker. She can really pick you apart. I feel like she's got a baseball arm. She can really find open players. So we knew we had our hands full with her. We've seen her in the past with some of our upperclassmen. First time today for our freshman class, getting on the court. But I thought we were fairly consistent. There were a couple of those breakdowns, particularly in the second half. But she definitely helps them.
Nearly 41% from three in the first half, and that lead is kind of blossomed. Just what were you seeing from that? And was it more about shot quality, or just kind of knocking down the shots that you're normally getting to?
Well, a big thing is just having the right mentality. Like I said earlier, teams have been throwing a lot of different looks, and we don't want to second guess who we are. And we're going to see a lot of different looks. And I thought Jamison set the tone. She hit a deep jumper right to start the game for us. Taylor obviously set the tone on the defensive end. So I just think the right mentality of just finding a great shot, and whatever that looks like. We just wanted pace, and I felt like kids like Ella Johnson, I mean, this might be the best game I've seen of her on both ends of the floor. She was fantastic today. But I think, when you can win between the years, it's a great start.
Doing on a little bit of a run near at the end of the first half, did that give you a chance to adjust anything in the second half?
Well, a big thing on that was communication. They do a great job of creating double gaps on you. And, we were in the process of trying to switch some of that action, and we just didn't react to it. And so they took advantage of it. I'm like, it's what they do. I'm like, if you have a breakdown, they're going to pick you apart. And I was actually, we were really fortunate in the first quarter because they picked us apart, and they missed some early ones that they could have really jumped on us in the first quarter. So we were fortunate there, especially some extra offensive rebounds. But I felt like we tightened that up. We had a chance to talk about that at halftime, did a little bit better after that.
You hit those 2 threes, though. They went on the 12-0 run, but then Taylor and Ella both hit threes. How much momentum would that give you going to the locker room?
I mean, it's huge when you have veterans that aren't showing a reaction. You know what I mean? So, like, when a team makes a run, to respond, you can go next play and control what you can control, or you can, get a little bit tight. And I felt like last week we got a little bit tight, to be quite honest. When we were on the road, I think that really prepared us well going into this week. That we can't react. We get the things that we can control is what we control, and those two hitting those shots certainly helped.
Well, in the second half, it was like between 12 and 20 the whole time, right? So what do you think is your consistency in it? Keep the lead in double figures.
Yeah, I mean, third quarter I was getting nervous. I'm like, when they cut down that lead, but you got some timely steals, or you got some timely buckets to respond. I just felt like teams are going to make runs. Montana's going to make a run. Crowd's going to get on top. How do we want to react? What do we want it to look like that without the score? And I felt like our kids really stayed together. They focused on each other. That, to me, is some maturity, some growth in a very young team, and really proud of how they responded.
How was Ella able to be so successful today?
I just don't think she second-guessed anything. I thought she was really attack-oriented. Sometimes when she catches the ball, she's looking to pass, and today she was looking to score. Her freshman year, we always made the joke, I had to pull her out of redshirt, that in the first few weeks it was Ella Don't Shoot the Ball Johnson, and then about 2 months in, I'm like, your middle nickname is Shoot the Ball Johnson now. So we're trying to build off that and get her to shoot the ball. She's got a really nice looking shot, especially faced up, but she's getting more aggressive, and I just felt like she was focusing on making right plays and being aggressive.
Trisha Binford here on Nuanez Now. Take a break, come back. A couple more thoughts from Matt, head coach. And then at the top of hour number 2, we'll hear more from Travis DeKeer, Grizz head basketball coach, Nate Harris, Lady Grizz coach, as well as Buddy Williams and Tajon Sawyer for Montana men's basketball as well. So change that dial. Here from Matt Logie, Jed Miller, and Patrick McMahon next.
Life can change in an instant. If you've been hurt in an accident, suffered from medical negligence, or facing criminal charges, you don't have to face it alone. At Ryan Miller and Coburn, we're here to listen and fight for you. We're your neighbors, traveling across Montana to stand by your side as you're linked to justice. Real people, real help, right here in Montana. Ryan Miller and Coburn, your Montana attorneys.
So will you marry me in your future? Or maybe you do it all over again. Hi, I'm Brian Toon with Jewelry Design Center, inviting you to come see the largest selection of Will You Marry Me in the state of Montana. The brightest diamonds of every shape and size, unique settings built to last, and skilled jewelers on site offering free sizing and maintenance for life, because that's how long we want to be your jeweler. Jewelry Design Center in Missoula on Brooks, across from the Montana Club.
Morris Buick GMC is ready to help you safely travel Montana's scenic roads in comfort and style. Stop by to Morris today and test drive some outstanding SUVs. Right now, take advantage of closeout pricing on the uniquely designed and well-equipped 2024 Buick Encore GX with models starting at $28,895. Don't miss this opportunity. Go to demorris.com to preview our inventory of 2024 Buick Encore.
Open 7 days a week. Come enjoy a meal with your kiddos in Paradise at Paradise Falls, 3621 Brook Street, Missoula's coolest hotspot.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. Grizzly Disposal now has one bin recycling. They'll pick it right up from your house. So if you'd like to add it or switch and get both their services, call 406-541-7171. That's 406-541-7171. Grizzly Disposal. The only Bears that should be in your garbage. Jed Miller, a revelation again. He is going to be first team all conference if he, barring some sort of disaster down the stretch. At least I believe I would vote him first team all conference. The Montana State senior point guard had 19 points and 5 assists. This guy was mostly a practice squad player for the first 3 years of his career and has really blossomed into becoming one of the most steady and efficient and consistent point guards in the league. Patrick McMahon, he's also having a great senior year. He had 12 points and 7 rebounds, couple dimes as well. Was really efficient. 2 of 3 from beyond the arc, 5 of 11 from the floor. So those two seniors have been the stalwarts. I think that's the difference right now for the Cats and the Grizz. The Cats have 2 guys that have been in their program for the duration of their careers. They're playing their best basketball right now in their final seasons. And I think that's going to give you a leg up on pretty much everybody. And that's been the case. The 2 teams with the most veteran returners, Portland State and Montana State, are leading the way. Here's Jed Miller and Patrick McMahon following their team's 82-71 victory over Montana in Missoula.
Jed, what did that take to settle in? And once you guys took that lead at halftime, you were pretty steady the entire second half.
Yeah, we knew it was going to be a hostile environment, like every rivalry game is. So we had to calm down a little bit after the beginning. Credit to Montana, they came out the gates firing and shot the ball really well. So we had to just settle in and do what we do best.
They started 7 time on threes, and then you guys held them 1 of 16 in the rest of the games. What did you guys figure out defending the 3-point line?
They made us change our coverage a little bit. Tajon Sawyer came out red hot. I think he really helped him at the beginning, and then credit to our coaching staff. They're really good at making in-game adjustments, and we've seen it all throughout the season, so I think that was a big part of the game.
Jed, what was that moment like for you in the post-game interview you were doing to have your team there with you, giving you a hard time through that?
It's awesome. We did it a couple weeks ago at Weber, or versus Weber State as well. And there's no better feeling, having a group of guys behind you that just love you and you love them back just as much, and they care for you. And I said in the interview too, but this team's been thrown in the fire. We've had a lot of injuries, and we've gone through so much adversity this year. And this team is still getting better every game, and I'm excited for the future.
For Pat and then for Jed, it's the first time we've been able to play and win in this building. How personally fulfilling is that for you guys in your final year?
Yeah, it feels amazing. It's a really, really bad feeling to drive home the next night after a loss, but this is something I'm going to remember forever. And it's I'm just glad I was able to do it with these guys.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. So it makes your rivalry great. And two great programs go head to head, and the games are always going to be close, whether we're home or we're away. And the feeling is like no other when you can get the job done on the road.
And when you guys are down a big man, as you are, to see the performances that Jaden and Chris gave you tonight, how valuable is that?
Very valuable. Those guys are two very hardworking guys, and they've stepped up since guys have went down, and we need that for sure we need that to continue.
Yeah, Chris is one of our senior leaders, like us too. So we kind of expect him to come out and be a dog every single game. It's what we tell him. And Jaden's a little bit younger, but he's getting better every single game. A big part of his game is confidence, and you're kind of starting to see his confidence grow each and every game with the opportunities that he's given.
You have 5 games left in the regular season. What sort of lessons do you take from the season so far, or just tonight into the time that you have left?
Every game is important in conference, and this conference is super competitive, whether it's the 1 seed playing the 10 seed right now or 2-9, whatever you want to say. Every game is important, and we're just going to control what we can control, and we think the rest of it we'll just let it play out.
You heard the mention there of Chris Hodges, who was 5 of 5, had 4 big dunks, and had 10 points. He was one of 6 Bobcats in double figures. They also talked about Jaden Stepp, who came off the bench and was super efficient, 15 points in just 16 minutes. Jaden Stepp will join us later on this week, talking to him tomorrow afternoon. Both those guys are unavailable this week, but we just heard from them, so we didn't want to be redundant there. And then Chris Hodges is sick, so hopefully he gets better. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, here from Matt Logie here after his team's victory. Here are some of the ins and outs of what the Bobcat coach said after his first win in Missoula.
Matt, what did you think of the steadiness of your team, especially in the second half?
Yeah, I was really proud of that. I thought we just kept playing, kept sticking to the game plan. Never got too low at the beginning when they were making shots, and we're able to have a great start to the second half. I think that was critical for us to build a little bit of a buffer. And this team has been like Jed said, they've been through a lot, and so they don't rattle easily. And when things happen, they pull together to fight out of the mud. So it's a joy to coach a group like that. And as you can see by their answers, we've got really good leadership.
Coaches,
a couple of years.
Not yet. 8 guys playing 6 scoring double figures. How happy are you with that balance?
Well, it'd be great if we had 8 guys in double figures. I'm just kidding, but I mean, our guys are really, really unselfish, and so the defense can dictate certain things, but our guys don't care who gets the shots or who gets the shine, so to speak. And so in a game like tonight, you've got Jaden Stepp, who comes off the bench in 16 minutes and gets a career high 15 points. That's because these guys believe in one another. They continue to have supported Jaden as he's gone through kind of his growth process this year, and now we're starting to see him come out the other side and make really impactful games like this. And I thought, our bench has done that all year long, whether that was Seth Amenrud, Jeremiah Davis. Everybody has a role and a job to do, and they don't care who gets the credit.
You also get a double-double out of Christian King. Certainly the points have always been there, but the rebounds I imagine you have to play.
Yeah, no, that's been something we've really been emphasizing with him. He's got great size, and it hasn't always been something that he has, accredited himself as a strength, but he's capable of it being a strength. And so, sometimes you got to demand that, and we have been, and he's been stepping up to the challenge more and more.
Matt Logie here on Nuanez Now, following his first career win in Missoula. Hour 1 in the books. We're going to keep on talking rivalry hoops, just because I think it's really interesting the situation that the men's league is in, and it's pretty. Honestly, it's not great. And again, I think most of what ails it is beyond the control of the teams in Montana. Enjoying the women's league, though, and I think Montana State's the real deal. I think they have a chance to really make a run in the tournament, and I think they could make noise in the big dance if they could get back there for the second year in a row. But the story here, other than just the epic first trajectory and then sustainability that Montana State is on as an athletic department, is where Montana sits right now. And it's certainly a pivotal moment within the university's history right now, with an opening at president, a one-year trial football coach, and a first-year women's basketball coach who's really struggling to find wins, and a veteran men's basketball coach that had a great year last year and has been brilliant even this year. We'll talk to everybody on the Montana side of things after this. Travis DeCuire, Tejan Sawyer, Money Williams, and Nate Harris. That's all next in hour number 2. Don't change that dial. Keep it right here. It's 102.9 ESPN Radio. The Press Box is the place to watch all your favorite sports. In the heart of Grizz Country, Press Box has great food and drinks with happy hour and lunch specials every weekday. Don't forget, Press Box has the best happy hour deal in town, Monday through Friday, between 4 and 6, $3 draft beers. That's right, any draft beer at the Press Box, from domestic light beers to IPAs to everything in between, $3 drafts between 4 and 6, Monday through Friday at the Press Box. Press Box also has 2 sports bet machines, so you can always get your bets in before the game starts. The Press Box on Broadway and Van Buren in Missoula.
Axman is doing some spring cleaning. Our in-stock Viking hot tubs are priced to move to help make room for new hot tubs. $1,200 in savings, including free installation, or take advantage of 24 months 0% financing. Want bigger savings? Get up to $1,500 cash off for select in-stock hot tubs. Sale ends February 28th. Evening and weekend appointments are available. Axman, 3 miles west of the Missoula Airport and online at axman.com.
Lifestyle changes can be tough, but you don't have to do it alone. The Diabetes Prevention Program connects you with others who share your goals and helps you build healthy, lasting habits. Participants have cut their risk of diabetes by more than half, and even more for older adults. Smoking and vaping also increase your risk for diabetes and heart disease. Get free quit help at quitnowmontana.com or call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. To join the Diabetes Prevention Program at Missoula Public Health, call 406-880-5344 to register.
Someone who said they were from Medicare called and asked for my personal information.
I noticed a charge on my Medicare statement for a test I don't remember having.
I got a letter offering me free medical equipment if I gave them my Medicare number.
Something didn't seem right.
It seemed too good to be true.
If something seems odd, it's probably fraud. Call Senior Medicare Patrol at 800-551-3191 to report fraud. This project is supported by a grant by the Administration for Community Living.
Feeling inspired by the Winter Olympics but don't have any ice sports experience? Come to Glacier Ice Rink this Saturday and we'll get you started. Our Winter Games Tri-Day features skating, curling, and sled hockey sessions that introduce beginners to these sports in a fun, safe environment. If you're more of a spectator, we've got hockey games throughout the day, including a USA versus Canada matchup. Pre-registration is required, so visit glacierIcerink.com to sign up. Glacier Ice Rink's Winter Games Tri-Day this Saturday.
All Nations Health Center is committed to keeping you vibrant and full of energy by supporting your physical, mental, and spiritual health. All Nations Health Center in Missoula offers a variety of services to the Indigenous and non-Indigenous people of Western Montana. All Nations offers primary care doctors, behavioral health services, mental health counseling, and even dental. All Nations currently serves more than 2,000 registered clients who are proud Indigenous people. For more information about how All Nations Health Center can help you, visit allnations.health.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
For the second time in the last 24 years, Montana State earned the season sweep of Montana in women's and men's basketball. Hello, I am Hayden Smith. Last month in Bozeman, Montana State women's basketball team ripped the Lady Grizz like never before, posting a 38-point win that marked the most lopsided margin of victory in the history of the rivalry. On Saturday in Missoula, Montana fared a bit better, yet still lost 72-55. The Lady Grizz turned the ball over 32 times in Bozeman and 18 in Missoula, but the Bobcats still extended their dominance over the once mighty foes from Montana. MSU is now on 5 in a row, 15 of 17, and 18 out of 21 since Robin Selvig retired as the head coach of the Lady Grizz. Ella Johnson's career-high 17 points helped Montana State move to 11-2 in league play to keep pace with Idaho in the conference standings. In the nightcap, Montana State used a 10-2 run to begin the second half to take control and kept Montana at bay on the way to an 82-71 win at Dahlberg Arena. The victory marks third-year head coach Matt Logie's first in Missoula and helps the Bobcats earn their first season sweep of the Grizz since Danny Sprinkle was the head coach and just the second since MSU did it in 2002. 6 Bobcats scored in double figures as Montana State moved to 9-4 in Big Sky Conference play. MSU sits a game ahead of Montana for second place and now trails Portland State by 2 games with 5 league games remaining.
This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
Welcome back. Welcome to tonight ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. If you missed anything in the first hour today, you can find it on the Nuanez Now podcast, which is available on all your various podcast hosting platforms. Please rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. Take a look at our prep scoreboard, represented by Vertical Raise, the elite online fundraising platform. We'll go into the details of some of these, but just wanted to get you updated on what went down Saturday. Here's just a couple scores of note. Boys basketball AA, Butte High kept rolling, 52-42 over Helena High. So after their lull, they seem to be back on track. Hellgate's got a winning streak going now as well after their 55-51 win over Helena Capital. Knights are back up to number 2 in the state. And Missoula Big Sky, they got a win coming into a big week. Sentinel Big Sky play later on this week. But Big Sky beat Kalispell Glacier 65-45. So the Eagles have been the hard luck losers sometimes this year, but they're finding a little traction at least as we come down the stretch. Class A boys basketball. The Billings Central Rams haven't lost since January 8th, and that continued with a 74-59 win over East Helena. Central now 9-1 in Southeastern A play, 15-2 overall. Lockwood kept pace. They just have the one loss to Central, and they blew out Livingston 75-30. Class B, Harlem kept going. They're number 4 this last week. They beat Fairview 63-48. Florence Carleton bounced back after a tough week last week, and Bernie Duchesne led the way. The high for the weekend, 35 points for Duchesne as Florence won 74-33 over Darby. Let's see. Scobie, number 1 team in the state in Class C. They kept on rolling after a 72-26 win over Circle. Number 2, Belt kept pace in Class C, 75-38. Over Cascade. Chester Joplin Inverness also an easy win, 76-44 over Augusta. In girls basketball, Missoula Big Sky, their winning streak now up to 12 in a row. They're 11-0 in league play after a 72-28 win over Kalispell Glacier. This was 64-18 going into the fourth quarter, so that was a clear, decisive win for the Eagles. Missoula Hellgate also, they continue to get it done with their defense, 41-14 over Helena Capital. The Knights are number 4 this last week. Butte High continues to flirt with the top 5. They had a 63-47 win over Helena High. And then Billings Skyview, they barely outlast Bozeman in a game that is impactful in the middle part of the Eastern AA standings. Skyview's girls won 56-54 over Bozeman. In Class A, Billings Central remains number 1. Cameron Riker, the highest girls scorer of the weekend. She had 35 points. She's a future Lady Grizz. Billings Central beat East Helena 56-26. Class B, Baker remains undefeated. They're now 16-0 after a 72-18 win over St. Lebray. Florence Carleton, no trouble with Darby, 64-12. Missoula keeps pace with their rivals. They beat up on Deer Lodge 79-18. Number 7, Malta kept it going with a 61-37 win over Wolf Point. Class C, the Drummond girls. That's our Class C spotlight this week. Jeff Safford will get you in the loop with them. Drummond was up 31-0 at the end of the first quarter, and they cruised to a 66-13 win over Victor. The Trojans now 18-0 and one of the top teams in Class C. West Elso kept it going with a 72-30 win over Gardner. West Elso was number 4 last week. And Melstone kept pace with a 72-19 win over Custer Hysham Rosebud. More on that, including some of the individual performances, tomorrow with our Treasure State Stars. That'll be about 4:30. But we turn our attention back to the rivalry because I think it's an interesting deal. Because Montana and Montana State have gone back and forth on the football field a ton in the modern era, right? Since the streak was snapped in 2002, it's pretty much dead even. I think the Cats are up like 13-11 in football, or maybe it's 14-12, but I think the Cats have like a 2-game lead since the streak snapped. Basketball, it was all Lady Grizz all the way until Robin Selvig retired 10 years ago. I guess, 11 years ago now. Then it's been all Bobcats. So that's been just a swift shift. But it's the status quo now, right? I mean, it's been a decade of dominance for Montana State over Montana in women's basketball. The men, though, the men Grizz were the ones that were holding the rope. They were the ones that were maintaining the upper hand in the rivalry. And I'm not going to say it's gone. The Grizz won the regular season and the Big Sky Tournament title a year ago, so they're just a year removed from the magic that is going to March Madness and playing in the big dance. But this Grizz team is totally uneven, and they make a ton of mistakes. They seem to have a hard time making adjustments defensively. They, I think they're reliant, and some would even say over-reliant on a couple players, but specifically Money Williams. Last year, the Grizz were at their best when they would put 5 or 6 guys in double-figure scoring. They just had better players last year because they had Money Williams and Tajon Stoyer, but they also had Brandon Whitney, who was an all-league guy, Kai Johnson, who was an all-league guy, Joe Pridgeon, who was a first-team all-conference guy, Malik Monk, who was a second-team all-conference guy. So that's a lot of talent to replace. But you figure if Money Williams takes the next step, which he has, that you'd still be right there. And they are right there. They're alone in third place. When you got the preseason player of the year in the league, and again, it's gotten a lot of pro hype and even some NBA hype, you sort of expect to be at the top, right? And I know that the Grizz were maybe a little frustrated that they were picked to win the conference this year. That's actually not fair. I think a lot of people thought Portland State should have been picked to win the conference, but instead the masses or the media picked Montana to win the conference. Portland State had much more returning talent, including the reigning Big Sky Conference Defensive Player of the Year in Trajan Minot. One of the best wing scoring stretch forwards in Terry Miller Jr., and a really explosive point guard in Jalen Henderson. And all 3 of those guys were on the preseason all-league team. Yeah, Portland State was picked to finish second. Montana picked to finish first. But I think part of that's just an homage to the tradition at Montana. That's all to say this year has just been really strange for Montana because they've shown some really high potential. They won at UNLV earlier this year. That was a great win. But then they also have head-scratching losses at home to schools like Lamar and Montana Tech. Are you kidding me? They lost 6 home games, and I think you can sort of say, okay, the Oakland game, that team's a bona fide mid-major. Okay, not too many regrets. You never want to lose to your rival at home, but the Cats are good. So that, maybe you can say, okay, that's one where I'm not gonna say you're okay with it, but it's not as detrimental just to your overall sort of your resume, right? But losing to North Dakota State at home, that's one where you just can't have it. You can't lose to Montana Tech at home. You can't lose to Eastern Washington at home. Those are just games that you can't let those ones slip away when you're on your home court. And that's, let's say the Grizz do make a run in the Big Sky Tournament in March, and they do get back to the NCAA tournament. Well, if they're a 12, 13, 14 loss team, what seed's that team going to get? They're going to get a 15 at the absolute best, but probably more like a 16, or they're going to be headed to Dayton, Ohio, and they're going to be played in the play-in game. Maybe that's actually better for them if they get in the play-in game. I'm not sure. I mean, last year that team was really good. They won 25, 26 games, and they drew Wisconsin. That's just a really tough draw. I don't know what the draw would be if this team made a run. They're going to have to figure out how to make a run first and foremost, for sure. But the Achilles heels, there's been two. The turnovers and then the inability to protect home court. On Saturday against Montana State, the turnovers were actually pretty dang good. Montana only turned the ball over 10 times. They just couldn't find the rhythm. They were started out just lightning hot, and then they could not find the rhythm after that. They hit 7 of their first 10 threes, but then they couldn't find a bucket after that. They were 1 of 16 from beyond the arc in the second half of the first, I guess, like the last 5 minutes of the first half into then the second half. Last 25 minutes of the game, Montana was just not good from beyond the arc. Tajon Sawyer finished with 22 points. He hit 4 3-pointers, 4 out of 10, but Montana finishes 8 of 26 from beyond the arc. And Montana State, the balance and the depth, not really depth, just the contributions from all the guys that did play, that certainly helped carry the day as the Bobcats won in Missoula under Matt Logie for the first time. Ask Tajon Sawyer just about what was going well offensively early and what went away late.
Tajon, you guys were red hot from 3 in the first half, and then I think only hit 1 in the second half. Did they adjust anything defensively, or what happened?
I think it was just how we played on both sides. We need to be better at being more consistent. On offense and defense, putting 2 halves together. Just not being one-sided. And I think that's what caught us in the head at the time. And we're gonna get better at it.
Certainly, a lot of self-awareness from the Grizz in these post-game press conferences. Monty Williams. I don't know what to make, because I understand stats exist for a reason, and stats are used as a way to analyze sports for a reason. And Monty Williams has great stats, and sometimes he can carry the day, and those great stats also equal Montana being really hard to beat. On Saturday, Williams finished with 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. He also had 4 of Montana's 10 turnovers. Didn't shoot the ball that well. 6 of 16 from the floor, 2 of 6 from deep. But he got to the free throw line a bunch, which he's going to be asked about here in just a minute. And he scored 11 points at the charity stripe. I like the story. I think the story of Monty, the story is terrible. If you don't know the story, he lost both his parents in the span of a year to just tragic. One was an illness, one was, I think, a heart attack. So the guy basically got orphaned when he was 19 years old. And because of the way that the Montana coaching staff, specifically Travis DeCuire, sort of wrapped their arms around him, he's been very loyal to these guys. He got offered a bunch of money in the offseason to go to bigger programs. I know Tennessee was in the mix, certainly. But he decided to stay. And so that loyalty is something that's worth that's commendable, right? And just sort of the heartwarming and real nature of that story is really good. That said, with the way the Grizz have played almost always, but also just the way that Travis DeCuire likes to play on both offense and defense, having like a centerpiece type of guy who's like a ball-dominant guy who leads the country in usage, that's just not really how the system works. It's not really how the style works. It's not really within that's just not really what Coach DeCuire wants the identity to be. So it's just an interesting deal, because I'm not saying you don't want to have Monty Williams. Everybody in the league, most people in the country would take Monty Williams. Because one of the hardest things in basketball is, do you have a dude that can get you a bucket whenever you want, even in crunch time? Williams can. It's just a continued evolution of them learning how to play around him. And I think when he's at his best, he gives the Grizz a fighting chance for sure, if not makes him a favorite against everybody in the conference. And he was productive on Saturday, but there's just something missing when it came to the flow of the Grizz, especially when you compared it to just how team-oriented and how much flow there was for Montana State. Monty Williams answered a few questions following the game on Saturday.
Money, when they have 6 guys who could go for double figures, just what was the biggest challenge trying to hold down that many different guys who could score in different ways?
To be honest, I don't think it was a challenge at all. Overall, I just think they were the better team. And like Travis said, if we just be more consistent on both sides, we have a good chance in conference.
Money, you scored, I think, 15 straight of your guys' points in the second half, a lot of those at the free throw line. Was there something that you saw at that point that you were trying to take advantage of, or how did that come about?
Mac Miller had a couple fouls, and we just wanted to take them, and that was the game plan from there, and that's what we did. And they fouled a lot, and that's how I got the points.
You guys only had 10 turnovers today, the second fewest in the game of the season, so why were you guys so clean there?
Say that again?
Only having 10 turnovers today, second fewest this season, why were you guys so clean there today?
I just think just practicing not turning the ball over. You know, Montana State is a good team. They switch a lot, so we just practice protecting the ball.
Eddie Williams here on 102.9 ESPN Radio. You're listening to Nuanez Now. How about Travis DeCuire? Again, he was candid in his opening statement. He was candid for the press conference. Here's his thoughts just on Montana, where they go from here. Coming down the stretch. Again, it's a moment to get swept if you're the Grizz in the rivalry. It's an uncommon occurrence, certainly. Then you couple that with what's gone on around the rest of the athletic department, too, with football winning twice in a month and the Montana State women sweeping the Lady Grizz. And you can see, that would be something that would be hard to deal with from a mental perspective. On the other hand, they are in third place, and they are still just, they have as good a shot as anybody in the league. As long as you don't have to play on the first day, I know it's but none of this matters. All you got to do is get in the top 4 or the top 5, I guess. Don't have to play the first day. And then what's the difference, right? It's just about when you play who, right? But you're still going to have to win 3 games in a row. And you're likely still, like if you're Montana, you're likely going to have to play Montana State and Portland State sometime in the conference tournament. If not, you're going to have to play the team that knocked either of those 2 teams out. So, again, you want to take care of business as you can and put yourself in the best position as possible. But also, it is just about 3 days in March. Here's Travis DeCuire about the stretch run for his team following their 82-71 loss to Montana State at home.
What are you hoping to see out of your team over the rest of the regular season before you guys have Boise?
Just find a way to be more consistent, see if we can put 2 halves together. Really, I think once we do that the first time, in terms of both sides of the ball, I think we'll remember what it felt like, right? And we've said this all year to our guys, is we got a lot of guys in new roles. We need freshmen to start playing like sophomores, and sophomores to start playing like juniors, and juniors to play like seniors. And we've seen signs. I think we've had a couple guys have off nights, and then they recover from that, and then someone else has an off night. We just need a little more consistency, and a lot of it, like I say, is experience. At the end of the day, and we hope that when you start getting more games under your belt, you start playing with like there's more experience. But it's a little bit of everyone. Look, Montana State played well tonight, and so I think the last thing we will do is scrap things and start over. We just need to continue to make adjustments and work on the things that we struggle with tonight, and the next time we're in that situation, play better.
I guess both these games have been close. Do you feel good if you see them again in the tournament? And is that something, do you want to see them a third time?
Yeah, I'd love to see anybody in the tournament, right? The goal is to not play the first night. And then whoever you see in front of you, look forward to playing, right? We got to win 3 games in that situation. So, I'll never be a coach that ducks teams or, hopes that you don't play someone. If you lack confidence, you'll never be successful. So, we've had stretches in this game, just like the last game where we were better, right? We jump up and we have momentum in the first half, and I think we did some things to play them back into the game, whether it was some defensive breakdowns, some bad matchups that as a staff, maybe, we try to get out of, and we kind of played it to the next dead ball before subbing, and probably should not have done that. If I could do anything again, is probably call a timeout and get the subs and hold on to that lead that we had, as opposed to let it cut down to 4. Because that's when they got momentum, and then they never really relinquished it at that point until the second half when we kind of got going in transition. So it's a game of adjustments, but you're always going to take positives from games and believe that if you do the things that you see worked consistently within that game, you win. And so that's how we'll feel the next time going in. I'll find those things, and then we'll try to execute them for 40.
Gotta love that answer, right? I'd love to see anybody in the tournament. I mean, it's how you have to think about it, right? And again, I know that each year is independent of itself, but Travis DeCuire has been to the championship game about 60% of the time when he's been the head coach for the Grizz. So, again, I know that they are not where they were a year ago, but they're going to be, if they play Montana State or Portland State in the conference tournament, it's going to be a throwdown, I think. Because Coach DeCuire's been there before. He knows how to do it. He knows how to make runs. So we'll see. But I don't think the Grizz are dead in the water yet, even if they do have some pretty sharp things to work on. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. The Lady Grizz, they were upside down the first part of conference play. Then when they lost to Montana State by 38 points, which was the most that they've ever lost to Montana State by, that was sort of rock bottom for them. Then they ripped off 4 wins in a row and sort of got themselves back into the middle part of conference play, of the conference standings, excuse me. But then since their 69-63 win over Portland State, they've been swimming a little bit. They lost to Sac State at home. They lost to Eastern Washington on the road. They lost to Idaho on the road. And then they get blown out by Montana State on Saturday. It doesn't get any easier. Idaho State coming to town. Weber State coming to town. We'll have tickets for you for both of those here a little later on this week. But Nate Harris, as always, wearing his heart on his sleeve. Here's what he had to say just following his team's fifth straight rivalry loss.
How did you like the half-court offense today with Mac back in the mix as opposed to the first game?
I thought it was better. I thought we were able to get into a couple things. There were some things that we had in this week that we just didn't quite understand where, again, we drove into somebody who was cutting, just a few random things, but I thought it flowed better. I thought we got really good looks, especially early. They adjusted in the second in the second quarter. We got a little stagnant early second, got started flowing really well late second, came out in the third and executed some good stuff. I thought we got the game to a tempo where we could be really competitive. They're kind of slowing it to a crawl against them a little bit, and then the fourth just had some looks early, and it gets so hard when you're trying to come back where you want to control the tempo. Your margin for error just gets so narrow there, where you're trying to control tempo and also come back when you're 14 down. So you're walking a fine line there. And so once it's not under 10 with 5 minutes to go, you're like, oh, nuts. We have to open it back up a little bit, which kind of plays back into their hands a little bit more.
When you do sort of limit them getting out and running, making them execute out of the half court, but then they do knock down shots from some of the shooters that maybe you're anticipated not being their shooters, how tough does that make them to guard?
I mean, obviously it makes anyone much harder to guard. And so, again, give them credit. We dared them, and Ella Johnson especially. I want to make sure I'm getting her name right. Yeah, she played too good for me to get her name wrong. Ella Johnson especially did such a good job of carrying them through that first half with some big shots in some moments. I thought her last three of the half after we had cut it to 12 and Taylor Berry's one, and then for her to have the big play on one end with the block and then come back down into a trail 3 to make it an 18-point game, I thought was a gigantic play. So credit to her for making it.
Do you glean some confidence from this?
I'm not Coulter, you know me well enough. I'm not a moral victories guy. I think there was some good stuff. I thought that, like I said, I thought our defensive intensity was better. I thought we did a better job for the final 23 minutes, right? They had 16 points in the paint with 4 minutes to go in the second quarter, so we held them to 20 for the rest of the game. So for that fight, I thought that was a step in the right direction in terms of trying to take away the things that we wanted to take away. Offensively, I thought we got really good shots, but we've got to keep finding the ones that we're going to consistently make. I thought it was a step in the right direction. I'm not going to say that I got a ton of confidence from it, because I think confidence comes next week by just getting back to work on Monday and trying to keep our nose to the grindstone and break that rock one of these days here.
Yeah, where do you go from here as you kind of wind down the regular season? What are you looking to accomplish over these next 2 games?
Monday practice, get better on Monday, turn around, do it again on Tuesday, do it again on Wednesday, and compete like crazy against Idaho State. It's one of those things. You'd love to. It's all really important. Every game is the biggest game of the year, but there is a week in March where you have to be really good. And so we've just got to keep building towards that. We had a great stretch where it felt like it took some steps back. I thought today, for the final 2.5 quarters, with some really positive things that we can lean on and really get better at there. But yeah, where do we go? We go to practice on Monday to try and get better, and then turn around and play 5 more conference games and try to win every single one of them so that we can put ourselves in the best situation possible to win games in Boise.
The way the standings are shaping up, there's a decent chance you could see them early in that week in March. What would give you the confidence that you could pull off another Cinderella run against a team like that?
I'm not going to worry about it until they're finalized. So many things happen in this league all the time that I'm gonna worry about who we play first, but I'm not going to worry about them until we play these other 5 games and find out who and when we're playing. Then obviously that's a great storyline for you. Anytime that we can play them in a tournament setting. I think it might have been the highlight of the Big Sky Conference tournament there last year to have that game in a championship. But all I'm worried about is practice on Monday, getting ready for Idaho State. Because that's our next challenge. That's what's in front of us. And no, I'm not trying to Bill Belichick you with the on to Cincinnati, but I try not to get ahead of it. I haven't looked at the standings, and I don't know that I really have looked at them yet.
Nate Harris here on Nuanez Now, 129 ESPN Radio. Big weekend for the Lady Grizz too. They beat Idaho State in Pocatello, so can they figure out a way to do that again? That game's coming up on Thursday. We'll give you a chance to win tickets a little later on this week. And then you got to get it against Weber. Weber has won 1 conference game there in last place, so you have to complete that season sweep for sure. And then the following week at Sac State, Portland State will bode huge as well, and then they have to play Northern Colorado on March 2nd. That's a Monday, right before they're headed into the conference tournament. So 5 conference games left. Certainly, wins in any or all of them would be good. I mean, if you're Montana, you should be for sure gunning for at least 3 wins during that stretch. But if not 5, right? So we'll see. Certainly been an up and down year for Montana women's basketball. Take a break, come back. A young man from Missoula who won a national championship a little bit more than a month ago, Adam Jones, stud running back for the Montana State Bobcats. He'll join us to share his national championship memories. That's next. Keep it right here, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Cold weather cravings? The Montana Club has got you covered with scratch-made comfort food to match every craving. From perfectly grilled steaks to satisfying salads, they're ready to handle your hunger. So grab a table with a reservation or keep it casual and order delivery straight to your door. Great food made easy. Visit MontanaClub.com to order or reserve and come warm up at your Montana Club. Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Checking in with Ryan and Lucy for the Big Sky Documentary Film Festival, happening February 13th through the 22nd.
We have a great lineup of music docs this year.
We've got an incredible doc about Sun Ra, another about young hippies on Dead and Company tour, as well as a doc about Vic Chestnut.
We have a beautiful film about Chet Baker. We also have a film about Professor Longhair, a film about Benjamin Smoke, and Little Feat, the documentary.
For more information, visit bigskyfilmfest.org.
From the opening face-off to the final horn, Grizz Hockey was backed by the best fans in college hockey. That's Grizz Nation at the Glacier Ice Rink. All season long, you brought the noise, brought the pride, and turned every game into a battle. Big hits, last-second goals, heart-pounding moments. University of Montana Hockey doesn't do it without you, and we mean that. So keep packing the rink, keep raising the volume, and keep backing the Grizz for years to come. Thank you, Missoula, for your continued support of Montana Grizzly Hockey.
Did you know that if you have dense breasts, or any breasts for that matter, a screening mammogram or ultrasound can miss up to half of breast cancers? At Montana Imaging Center in Missoula, we now offer screening breast MRI, the best way to find cancer early. Tell your doctor you'd like to have a referral sent to Montana Imaging Center, where you'll save up to 90% on breast MRIs. Fridays at Montana Imaging Center, join us for Breast Fridays Ever. It's a relaxing non-hospital screening experience with chocolates, champagne, and sometimes an emotional support puppy running around. Visit montanaimaging.com for more info.
Canby Tap House is well known for having one of the best and biggest selections of tap beers anywhere in Montana. Did you know that Canby Tap House also has wine on tap? Wine on tap gives Canby the ability to offer unique varieties of wines from all over the world at a good price point, and it's guaranteed to be fresh. Canby Tap House and Coffee has become a Missoula favorite. Swing in to see why. Canby has delicious food, an array of beverage options, and fresh wine on tap. Canby Tap House, located on Higgins across from Dornblazer Field in Missoula.
Vertical Raise is the top fundraising platform, no matter what sort of organization you need to raise money for. Vertical Raise is an industry leader with elite technology that can help you reach the most vast audience possible, in turn, delivering a bigger check for you and your organization. In 2023, Vertical Raise Montana helped raise more than $1.5 million for high school sports organizations around the Treasure State, and the returns were more than 30% greater than any other fundraising program. To find out more about how Vertical Raise can deliver your organization the biggest check possible, visit verticalraise.com.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
For the second time in the last 24 years, Montana State earned the season sweep of Montana in women's and men's basketball. Hello, I am Hayden Smith. Last month in Bozeman, Montana State women's basketball team ripped the Lady Grizz like never before, posting a 38-point win that marked the most lopsided margin of victory in the history of the rivalry. On Saturday in Missoula, Montana fared a bit better, yet still lost 72-55. The Lady Grizz turned the ball over 32 times in Bozeman and 18 in Missoula, but the Bobcats still extended their dominance over the once mighty foes from Montana. MSU is now on 5 in a row, 15 of 17, and 18 out of 21 since Robin Selvig retired as the head coach of the Lady Grizz. Ella Johnson's career-high 17 points helped Montana State move to 11-2 in league play to keep pace with Idaho in the conference standings. In the nightcap, Montana State used a 10-2 run to begin the second half to take control and kept Montana at bay on the way to an 82-71 win at Dahlberg Arena. The victory marks third-year head coach Matt Logie's first in Missoula and helps the Bobcats earn their first season sweep of the Grizz since Danny Sprinkle was the head coach and just the second since MSU did it in 2002. 6 Bobcats scored in double figures as Montana State moved to 9-4 in Big Sky Conference play. MSU sits a game ahead of Montana for second place and now trails Portland State by 2 games with 5 league games remaining.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio, coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. Grizzly Disposal has construction roll-off boxes for your construction projects. They can get them to you within 24 hours. Don't wait days or even weeks. Call right now, 406-541-7171, or visit grizzlydisposal.com. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, the only bears that should be in your garbage. Feel a little under the weather today, so I actually forgot to tell you about this. I think part of it's just too long of a weekend. Those the rivalry games, it's just late nights. Like I didn't get done working until about 1:30 on Saturday night, and then I probably should have just stayed home yesterday. But I really wanted to see the documentary Big Sky Falling. Our man behind the glass, Hayden, he was there, so I can't wait to debrief with him. I've just been trying to stay out of the same room as those guys just to make sure we're all good in the clear here. But either way. It was really, really well done. Got a chance to then chat with Scott Diener, one of the filmmakers, afterwards. And, he was telling me that they actually envisioned it being a 3-part, like 3 1-hour-long episodes. But it ended up just being a feature about an hour and 40 minutes long. But it was all about the drug scandal in Bozeman in the mid-2000s that culminated in 7 Montana State athletes, most of them former Montana State athletes, being arrested for involvement in this cocaine ring conspiracy. But this all came to a head when John LeBrum and Brandon Miller, a former basketball player, LeBrum, a former football player, were first accused of and then convicted of murdering Jason Wright, who was a 26-year-old in the community, a guy that coached baseball at the American Legion level. And there's a whole lot more details in it than that. I won't give you the spoiler alert, but it's certainly worth watching. If you have a Big Sky Documentary Film Festival pass, you can then stream this stuff at your house. So if you did miss the screening yesterday at the Wilma, you can still watch this for the rest of the week. I believe you can go on there and just buy like a digital ticket as well if you just want to get the ability to stream this or any of the other films that are going on. So worth watching, certainly, no matter which side of the rivalry you sit on. I thought it was really, really well done, and it was cool to see it up on the big screen. Nuanez Now 109 ESPN Radio. They started making the doc back in 2019. Little did they know that Montana State would win, 3 Big Sky Conference championships in football, 3 Big Sky Conference tournament championships in men's basketball. So certainly the resurrection of the program some 20 years later is fully complete if you're MSU men's hoops or MSU football, despite that scandal. And certainly the moment that topped them all was on January 5th when Montana State won a thriller in overtime against Illinois State to win 35-31 and take home their first national championship in 41 years. Talk to one of the stars for the Bobcats, a kid who grew up in Missoula, about his memories of the game. Well, national championship game and national championship season coverage continues here at Skyline Sports, and sort of a new entry point here, too, because we're going to be hearing from both Adam Jones, who joins us now, and Taco Dowler for the next couple of months, because these guys, not only have they decided to stay at Montana State, but they're doing some cool things to give back to the community, hosting another string of camps here this upcoming summer. So we're going to help these guys promote this stuff, but also tell stories about Montana State winning the first national championship in more than 40 years. So pretty fun deal, and excited to help these guys out. So first of all, man, thanks for being here. What's it been like the last couple of weeks? How's it been in Bozeman, sort of reveling in the glory of being a national champion?
Yeah, it was definitely a party when we got back. Like you said, over 40 years, a lot of pent-up emotions for Bobcat fans and just the whole Bozeman community. So it's been a lot of celebration. We've came down from that, especially this last week, but it's been overwhelming, to say the least.
Well, no rest for the weary, right? Are you guys into winter condo already?
Yeah, we started last week.
So how's that go? Because, I mean, as a competitor, as an athlete, so often when you're diving into that part of the training, you're thinking, okay, we got to get better to beat this team or to win this championship. But now you guys are the team that won the championship. So what's the thing that keeps you going? Like, what gets your wheels spinning when you're doing those 6 a.m. workouts that are so brutal?
Each other. Even last year and years past when you didn't win it, it really is the dudes that you're doing it with that motivate you. And especially now, there isn't a team that really got us by the end of the year, but we did lose 2 games. So we know how it feels to lose. We had to battle back from a lot of things. So this team has been through a lot. And I think just taking that part of it into this next season, just that motivation to keep getting better and not let doubters really affect us.
Well, talking to Coach Herron about this, seems like that's a huge part of your team, is just sort of the test that comes with all the off-season stuff. Because you can kind of tell, right? You can tell the guys that are going to be there, get your back. It sort of seems like it's something that brings you guys together.
Yeah, I'm glad you talked to Coach Herron. He's very calculated when it comes to the off-season and intentional about the way he tests us. I mean, this morning, the workout was no joke. He kind of had a little surprise at the end with conditioning, and he kind of just tries to see how we're going to react to that stuff and who's going to want to quit and who doesn't. And it's really guys that are going to rise up and be consistent every day that are going to be on the field on Saturdays. So,
well, take me through your perspective just on the end of the game. When the first field goal gets lined up by Illinois State, where are you at on the sidelines? Are you watching? Are you able to watch, or are you not watching? Are you trying to get prepared to go back out there? What was your perspective on Jace McMillan's block?
I was watching. I mean, there are definitely dudes around me that I was watching for them because they couldn't watch. I was at that moment, I had full faith in our defense. And even if they did make that, I assumed that we were going to still have a chance to win that game. It's kind of just the belief that we talk about. But I honestly wasn't surprised when Jace came around that edge. I kind of saw that they had trouble with, their operation on PAT and field goals that leading up to that point. So I was confident in that, and very relieved though.
Well, then Illinois State, it gets to overtime after the crazy back and forth, and then they score. So take me through how you're feeling then leading up to that fourth down where you guys were able to win the game.
Yeah, no, they came out right away and scored quick, and the offense was saying all game that's going to be up to us. So really, in that moment, we were all excited to go out there and try to win that game. And Julius ripped off that big run, and then another penalty. But a lot of emotions on that third and fourth down. I think, in my head, I was battling the thoughts of last year for sure, but kind of had to block that out. And I did have a lot of faith in those dudes, especially in that huddle. Going out there after that timeout in the fourth down, we knew that we had a chance. And Justin and just having the ball in his hands and giving it to Taco, it didn't surprise me.
The way that the play was drawn up too, as soon as you saw like pre-snap that they was man to man. I mean, I was standing on your guys' sidelines with Gregorak, and I was like, "Oh, single side man coverage." I was like, "They're toast." But did you guys know that like you're gonna have a great matchup in that situation?
Yeah, I think that we knew when we motioned that dude, we motioned him just to see what we were gonna get. We honestly didn't really need the motion. They were all 7-up, cover 0. We could see it. And that route by Taco and just how much space he had to work with, that's almost impossible for a DB to guard that. So I think hats off to Coach Sturbick for putting us in that position and the O-line and us blocking it up and giving Justin a chance.
Lamson, too, he's got a lot of great traits, but I think one of his most underrated traits has been able to throw through contact. And we have so many pictures of him where, like, the D lineman is hitting his arm, and he's still, he's throwing a touchdown or he's throwing a first down. It's amazing to have that sort of timing, right? To, like, be able to wait till the very last second and then still get off a great throw.
No, I think you said that perfectly. There's been multiple throws. I think it started in Oregon where they were heating us up, and he had some pressure in his face. He was making throws all game, and definitely during the playoffs. Some of those throws where it got tipped or his arm got hit, I was like, I don't know how that works, but he takes a lot of pride in his craft, so it doesn't surprise me.
Well, you mentioned Oregon. I was talking to one of my buddies about this at lunch yesterday. We were talking about just in sports, there's a winner and a loser every single week, or every single game, whatever sport you're playing. And obviously competitors want to win, but you're going to endure losses at some point in your life. Like, right? Like, only the fewest of few get to go undefeated for like 4 years in a row. Like only Carroll College and Sean Heron's crew gets to go undefeated multiple years in a row, right? But it's so much about if and when you lose, what do you learn from losing? And it seemed like you guys learned a tremendous amount from those sort of 3 losses, right? I mean, you had 15 wins in a row, then the national championship loss and the 2 losses to start the year, and then 14 more wins in a row. So how do you think those 3 games, though, did impact you and helped you guys learn and grow?
I think it kind of was a litmus test on our program. I think there were a bunch of dudes that put our program in a really, really good position. But we were a young team, and we kind of needed to get punched in the face a couple times and kind of learned that we weren't ready for it all yet. But I think when we had our back against the wall after going 0-2, we held a players meeting and we said we're going to win out. We were going to run the table in the Big Sky and go to the national championship, and we were going to do whatever it took to do that. And for it to really happen, and for all the things that happened during the season and just the way we got there, it's pretty special looking back on that moment when we were in that players meeting. A bunch of dudes are talking. It's kind of a scary feeling, but it was also kind of a dangerous feeling in that room that we knew we were going to do whatever it took.
You being a captain this last year, there was 6 of you guys, and I thought you guys all had such different personalities and leadership styles. It seems like that worked. Like, it seemed like that was a perfect combination of captains, right? I mean, you got like the stoic, intense guy in Titan. You got the tone setter guy, Paul Broad. You got, sort of the loose guy, funny guy, JT Reed. All different types of guys that are leading you. So how much do you think just having different leadership styles melding together helped you guys sort of in that pursuit of winning out after you did have the tough start?
I think it helped a lot. We do have a lot of different styles. Titan, super intense, and then you go down to me and Caden, and we're kind of just talking to our team like we're having an everyday conversation. That's kind of just how we are. And I think you need that. A bunch of dudes are going to take motivation and and get their confidence from different ways. And I think us captains can connect with the entire team just with our different styles and how we go about our business. And I think it really did work, and we kind of fed off each other. We learned a ton as we went. I think, at least for me, I was, I felt a little bit of pressure as a captain, but the dudes around me made it so easy and just gave me a lot of confidence. So.
Well, so then you're in the middle of winter conditioning now. So how have you seen the sort of the mentality collectively of the team sort of adjust here? I mean, does it seem like there still is a hunger to drive you guys forward?
Yeah, I think there definitely is. Being a young team, and there's dudes that still haven't made their mark on this program who feel like they should, and that's a good thing. And I think you're going to see new guys in this field, especially with the portal. We lost some dudes, so there's going to be some new faces out there, and it's always the best part is winter, finding out who's going to step up and who's going to make the biggest growth, and you're always competing to be the dude that can grow the most. So,
well, I know you and I talked last year about your decision to stay. Now here you are, you're coming back again. So that dynamic is always going to be a part of the narrative now. So what's keeping you in Bozeman? What sort of things have you loved about being a Bobcat that keeps you on to coming back?
Everything about being a Bobcat made the decision to come back easy. For me, it's definitely Coach Vegan plays a huge part. I think he's a dude who gave me my first Division I offer. He was very genuine with his vision with me. Everything he said, he has came to fruition in some way or another. And I think just the culture that he's instilled in this program from the coaches and down to the players makes this place so enjoyable. And then beyond that, the community of Bozeman is bar none. This place is special. It took me a couple years to really embrace Bozeman, but there's no going back for me now. This is my place. This is my home. I have my best friends here, and I never want to leave this place.
Well, very cool. And I know you guys are delving into it, not now, but in a few months, one of your guys' favorite things. Adam Jones and Taco Dell will be hosting their second annual round of summer camps. And they've expanded a little bit this year with 5 different camp dates. And you can find out more about these camps. Taco and Adam summerfootballcamps.com, excuse me. We'll put a link in the metadata here of this hit on all the various things. But tell us about this part. What do you love about doing these camps and working with the kids?
It's so much fun. I think it's really what NIL is supposed to be about, and Taco and I have really talked about it a lot. We're probably one of the only 2 dudes in the country, college football-wise, trying to do this, and I don't know why more people aren't. It's seriously the most enjoyable thing. Making an impact on Montana, the place that really grew us and gave Taco and I everything, is why we do it. And to be able to be in the position and to have Montana State and the platform that Coach Vegan has given us to give back and to go around Montana for these football camps and give back to our teammates along the way is so special, and something Taco and I take a lot of pride in. And we're working extremely hard to make these camps as fun and enjoyable for the kids as possible. And I think that's the goal. And really the camps and just seeing the kids, how excited they get is why we do it.
Again, it's Taco and Adam, summerfootballcamps.com, and we'll put the link as many places as we possibly can. That's a great place to sign up for potential campers, but also for potential sponsors. And I know we have some sponsors already sort of in the boat here, including Yellowstone Law. Yellowstone Law has over 81 years of combined legal experience. Over $150 million worth of verdicts and settlements. They are the go-to when it comes to personal injury lawyers in Billings and around Montana. You can find out more at YellowstoneLaw.com. Or you can also call for a free consultation, 406-430-8162. That's 430-8162. Appreciate Yellowstone Law for their continued support of what these guys got going on for their camps. We'll check in soon, man, but good to see you. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it a lot.
Adam Jones here on Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio. This conversation probably presented in part by Cash One Pawn. Cash One Pawn, the premier pawn shop in western Montana. if you need some quick cash, Cash One Pawn can do that for you. They have a variety of ways to get you cash, including collateralized loans. Just go see them out there at their awesome pawn shop off of Roller Coaster Road, just past the Missoula Airport, just short of the Y. Cash One Pawn, the premier pawn shop in western Montana. Take you home on the other side. Don't change it down. Keep it right here, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
It's President's Day weekend, and that means it's the final weekend of the Trailhead Gambler Sale. The Gambler Sale is our biggest sale of the year, and with lots of skiing left, it's a great time to see how gear and clothing have improved. It might be time to refresh that old cross-country gear, or maybe get that skate ski setup you've been thinking about. We have deals in every department, and with the sale ending Monday, now is the time to get in and see what Gamblers is all about. The Trailhead Gambler Sale final weekend is going on now, downtown on Front Street, next to the parking structure, where the first hour, nights, and weekends are always free parking.
Big changes start with small steps, and the Diabetes Prevention Program helps you take them. This proven CDC program teaches healthy eating, stress management, and ways to stay active, all in a supportive group. Participants have reduced their risk of diabetes by 58% and 71% if they're over 65. Smoking and vaping can raise your risk too, but help is free at quitnowmontana.com or call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. To join the Diabetes Prevention Program at Missoula Public Health, call 406-880-5344 to register.
Uh-oh. Fender bender? Did you hit a deer? Or something worse? Action Auto Body Missoula brings your car back to life. Their expert technicians use state-of-the-art equipment to get you back on the road fast. Insurance claims? No problem. Quality repairs? Guaranteed. When accidents happen, take action. Call Action Auto Body Missoula today. 406-728-9220. That's 406-728-9220. Or visit actionautobodymt.com. Action Auto Body Missoula, where Missoula's cars come back to life.
Axman is doing some spring cleaning. Our in-stock Viking hot tubs are priced to move to help make room for new hot tubs. $1,200 in savings, including free installation, or take advantage of 24 months 0% financing. Want bigger savings? Get up to $1,500 cash off for select in-stock hot tubs. Sale ends February 28th. Evening and weekend appointments are available. Axman, 3 miles west of the Missoula Airport and online at axman.com.
Feeling inspired by the Winter Olympics but don't have any ice sports experience? Come to Glacier Ice Rink this Saturday and we'll get you started. Our Winter Games Tri-Day features skating, curling, and sled hockey sessions that introduce beginners to these sports in a fun, safe environment. If you're more of a spectator, we've got hockey games throughout the day, including a USA versus Canada matchup. Pre-registration is required, so visit glacierIcerink.com to sign up. Glacier Ice Rink's Winter Games Tri-Day this Saturday.
The Press Box is the place to watch all your favorite sports. In the heart of Grizz Country, Press Box has great food and drinks with happy hour and lunch specials every weekday. Don't forget, Press Box has the best happy hour deal in town, Monday through Friday, between 4 and 6, $3 draft beers. That's right, any draft beer at the Press Box, from domestic light beers to IPAs to everything in between, $3 drafts between 4 and 6, Monday through Friday at the Press Box. Press Box also has 2 sports bet machines, so you can always get your bets in before the game starts. The Press Box on Broadway and Van Buren in Missoula.
It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. You're missing in the show today. You can always find it on the podcast, which is available on all your various podcast hosting platforms. Thanks to the dudes behind the glass. All the versions of the video looking great on the show. And if you're tuning in on SWX or on the ESPN MT app or on the new and improved YouTube channel or on Facebook, appreciate you for being here. A couple news briefs for you. Jake Sanderson, who's a Whitefish native, he tallied 2 assists for Team USA in hockey over the weekend, and the U.S. won. They're into the quarterfinals. So we'll see if they can continue their pursuit of gold. Also, state wrestling starts this week. That'll descend upon Billings, the Metra. Certainly one of the most well-attended high school sporting events of the year every year. Part of that's just because it's all class, and part of that's because wrestling's big here in the state of Montana. State swimming in the books. That happened over the weekend in Great Falls. Billings West, the girls, they won their first state championship in 2 decades. The Bozeman boys continued their winning ways as they won in AA, and then the Billings Central boys and girls, they swept it. So that's repeat titles there for them, and Billings Central just continues to stack state championships in a variety of different sports. They won 9 of them. That's right, 9 of them last year, and I'm trying to think of what they got already this year. They're supposed to have football, but they got upset by Frenchtown. It's a great job by the Bronx. They won in cross country, both boys and girls, I believe. We'll give you a final total so I don't just misquote myself here, but certainly been a great time to be a Billings Central Ram here these last several years. We're going to catch up with Doug Fraley, the track coach at Montana, because his young ladies, his sprinters to be specific, are just smashing records left and right. There's a really talented sprint core right now for the Grizz. They broke 4 more records at the indoor meet in Pocatello. So that's certainly one of the best stories going in Grizzland as well as just in the state of Montana. So we'll have that for you tomorrow. We'll also have our full Prep Extra Tuesday, giving you all the highlights from the weekend that was, and then we'll fill in the blanks wherever else we can. Crazy to think we're almost winding down the stretch of basketball here. But we'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. In the meantime, have yourself a wonderful Monday evening and be good. This is Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio.